Is Ranveer Singh about to deliver the darkest performance of his career? That is the question I have been asking myself ever since the credits rolled on part 1. Be it the chaotic energy ball in Simba or the menacing warlord in Padmavat, we know what he can do. But what we saw in the first part of Dhurandhar was something different. He was quiet, he was restrained, he was a man holding his breath. But on March 19, 2026, when Dhurandhar Part 2 The Revenge hits the theatres, I don't think Hamza is going to be holding his breath anymore. He's going to scream, he's going to lead, and he's going to impose a level of violence that makes the climax of Part 1 look like a warm-up. From what we have been already shown, a lot can be deduced about Ranveer's character, a tragedy about a man losing his soul to the mission and becoming far more dangerous than the very people he is hunting. In my opinion, the movie will start with the events post the death of Rehman Dakat, following by Hamza's ascent to the Lyari throne and his transformation into the Sher-e-Baloch, the revenge against the 2611 planners, and at some point, Major Iqbal will come to know about Hamza's real identity, which will lead to a backstory chapter of how Jaskirat became Hamza, followed by the showdown between Hamza and Iqbal, and finally, details of the crossover theory between Uri and Dhurandhar.
Captain Jaskirat Singh Rangi.
We are sitting here today less than 2 months away from the release of Part 2 and the hype is already starting to boil over. The board is set for a psychological showdown, and if you really pay attention, if you go back and watch those trailers again, you will realize that some of the most visceral, high-octane shots of Ranveer Singh were missing from the first part. Those missing shots, be it the death of SP Chaudhary Aslam, the suicide of Javed Khanani, or Jamil's this gesture, they tell us that Part 2 isn't going to be a thriller anymore. It's going to take everyone on a wild, bloody ride which will both be cinematically brilliant but narratively cohesive.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because it's so much fun, Chan. Get it?
Let's get started with the aftermath of Rehman's death. Because to go deep into Hamza's character arc, it's important to understand what happens after Rehman's death. Part 1 ended with the death of Rehman Dakat, the king of Lyari is gone. SP Aslam, Jamil and Hamza were the architects, but in Lyari, Hamza is the hero who tried to save Rehman before he succumbed to his wounds. Now usually in movies, the hero steps up and takes the throne, but Dhurandhar is no ordinary movie. If Aditya Dhar is sticking to the real history of the Lyari gang wars, then there is a massive obstacle in Hamza's way, Rehman's brother Uzair Baloch. Uzair will be made to believe that Arshad Pappu was behind Rehman's death, and this suspicion will be the very first thing that will be addressed in Part 2. If you go by the real events, after the death of Rehman, Uzair went on a rampage and launched a full-scale war against the Arshad Pappu gang because he believed they conspired with the police to kill Rehman. And there are 2 shots which prove that the movie will showcase exactly that. This one where Uzair is about to kill someone. The way the close-up is shown, it is usually when someone is decapitating someone. And this shot from the Part 2 teaser, that head lying on the ground, is that of Arshad Pappu. And if reports are true, after killing Arshad, Uzair played football with the head. And Part 1 showed how these boys were fond of football. Hats off Aditya Dhar, absolute genius filmmaking. But why will Uzair believe that Arshad is behind Rehman's death? Enter Hamza. He's going to manipulate Uzair into believing that theory and use his rage to create absolute chaos. Because chaos is the perfect cover for him to operate. In reality, after Uzair killed Arshad, the Sindh government eventually issued red warrants for him. He had to flee Pakistan, was arrested by Interpol in Dubai and was brought back to jail. Hamza might even be the one to tip off the authorities to get rid of Uzair. May even involve Major Iqbal, as he too is trying to find out what happened to Rehman as seen in this shot. Who tips whom and why, that we will get to know in Part 2. But for sure, Uzair will be sidelined and on the run. And in his absence, Hamza will become the new king of Lyari and will have direct access to Major Iqbal along with all the intelligence which he will use and manipulate to inform the Indian authorities about potential attacks. In all likelihood, this will be the very first chapter of Part 2, bringing us to the Sher-e-Baloch Transformation. In the newly released teaser of Part 2, we see shots of Hamza traveling to Balochistan, being greeted by the crowds, the chanting, the adoration, getting a royal salute by guns, and I'm sure, just like Akshay Khanna got a viral moment with the Filprachi song, Shashwat Sachdev will have something up his sleeve for Hamza's arrival. Coming back to the ceremony, notice the person standing on Hamza's left. He is Rizwan, the same guy Alam introduces to Hamza in Part 1.
Rizwan Hamza. Hamza. Rizwan.
Who is part of the Arshad Pappu gang. Now after Arshad's death, it's likely that the remaining members of his gang will become a part of Hamza's gang, and several shots show him in the backdrop of Hamza, here and here. I feel Rizwan and Hamza have been sharing intel, which is why seeing him as one of Hamza's henchmen is expected. Now Rehman loved the power, Uzair loved the power, but Hamza, he doesn't give a damn about Lyari. He doesn't care about the people cheering for him. He's an Indian spy on a mission, but to survive, he has to become the warlord. I think we are going to see a performance within a performance. We will see Hamza giving fiery speeches to the gangs, rallying them and acting like their savior.
अगर तुम लोगों के पटाखे खत्म हो गए तो मैं धमाका शुरू करूं.
But the camera is going to linger on his eyes and we are going to see that cold, dead detachment. That ambiguity is where Ranveer Singh thrives. I want to see that switch in his eyes, where even we the audience aren't sure if he's acting anymore. If he pulls that off, this won't just be a blockbuster, it will be the performance that defines his legacy. He is hijacking this entire criminal empire for one thing only, the revenge, for which he needs the guns, the manpower and the access to hunt down the specific names on his list, the planners of 2611. He is effectively turning the Lyari gang into his own private hit squad. Becoming the king of Lyari will give him access to Major Iqbal and, as seen in some shots, maybe even Bade Saab, who we don't know yet, but I'll share more details about that later in the video. This brings us to the names in Hamza's diary, the planners of the 2611. In part 1, we saw Hamza scratching the name of Rehman Dakat from his diary and a glimpse of the next names who will become his targets in part 2, the revenge for the 2611 Mumbai attack. The guys who sat in safe houses in Karachi and Islamabad while Mumbai burned. Now because the movie is inspired by true events, Aditya Dhar has a choice. He can stick to the history books or he can take some massive creative liberties to show how these planners met their end. Think of it like Inglourious Bastards. Quentin Tarantino didn't show Hitler committing suicide in a bunker. He showed him getting blown up in a movie theater. Dhar may follow that same suit, giving us the catharsis history didn't. And keep in mind, Hamza's story started in 2002. But the timeline suggests his involvement continued until at least 2013, maybe even 2017. There is a specific shot in the trailer showing supporters of Nawaz Sharif celebrating his election win, which opens up a lot of possibilities of Hamza's arc, including a connection to Uri in 2016, but we'll get to that later in the video. Coming back to the list. First up, Javed Khanani. In the diary, his crimes are listed as FICN, fake Indian currency notes and funding weapons. Basically, he was the money man. In real life, Javed Khanani died in 2016 in Karachi. The official story is that he fell from a building under construction, which was ruled as a suicide. In this shot from the part 1 trailer, you can see someone falling onto the electric wires, and in the background, you can see the word Khanani written, indicating this is where Javed Khanani's death will be shown. Real-world theories suggest India's 2016 demonetization triggered his suicide. His entire business model depended on fake notes. When the currency changed, Khanani reportedly went bankrupt and was unable to honor his commitments to the underworld. But the movie will likely show this differently. Could it be Hamza who pushes him? Or does Hamza dismantle the network so thoroughly that Khanani is cornered in that high-rise with no other option? Let's see Hamza back him into a corner and then gravity takes over. Next, Sajid Mir, crime 2611 handler.
ये साजिद मीर हैं लश्कर से.
In real life, Pakistan claimed this man was dead for years. Then suddenly he was arrested in 2022 due to international pressure and sentenced to 15 years. There were even reports in late 2023 that he might have been poisoned in jail. From a storytelling perspective, I don't think Dhurandhar will get into the arrest drama. The likely angle is Hamza hunting him while the world thinks he's dead. Then we have Abdul Bhuttovi and Azam Cheema. Bhuttovi was a scholar at the Mudrike Madrasa who radicalized the attackers, and Cheema was a military trainer there.
अब्दुल बटावी आजम चीमा. जी जनाब. मुरीद के में मुजाहिदों का सबसे बड़ा ट्रेनिंग कैंप चलाते हैं. अच्छा.
In real life, both men died very recently. Bhuttovi died in prison in May 2023 of a heart attack. Azam Cheema died in Faisalabad in early 2024, also of a heart attack. 2 heart attacks for the 2 most wanted. Sounds suspicious, right? The movie will likely play into that. Expect Hamza to infiltrate the madrasa, the heart of the beast, and then take them out in a way that appears to be natural causes to the world but sends a terrifying message to the ISI. And finally, Bade Saab. This is the franchise's biggest mystery. In part 1, we hear Sanjay Dutt's SP Aslam handling drugs for him. So who is this mystery man pulling the strings? It really comes down to 2 real-world figures.
Get ready!
Dawood Ibrahim or Masood Azhar. In the theatrical credits of part 1, the name was listed as Dawood Ibrahim, but on Netflix, it just says Ibrahim, played by actor Danish Iqbal. This is the most popular theory. Even if they avoid saying the name to dodge censors, the breadcrumbs are there. The smuggling, the money laundering, the control over Mumbai, it screams D Company. But then there is theory 2, Masood Azhar, and narratively, this one is stronger. Remember, Dhurandhar Part 1 starts with the IC-814 Kandahar hijack in 1999. The hijackers demanded the release of Masood Azhar. That was the event that gave birth to the Dhurandhar program. If the story started with his release, it should end with Hamza taking him down, bringing the narrative to a full circle. Now the next problem is reality. Neither Dawood nor Masood has been caught or killed in real life. Recent reports suggest they are still alive. This is a creative problem that movies like Phantom and D-Day had to solve by creating their own versions, similar to how Quentin did in Inglourious Basterds. Dhurandhar might do something similar, but in a thematically different way. Looking at how the timeline is stretching from 2002 to 2017 and beyond, there is a possibility that Aditya Dhar might extend this epic saga into another part, Dhurandhar Part 3, which is also one of the popular social media theories. But before we get to the future, Hamza has to survive the present, and that brings us to the main antagonist of Part 2, Arjun Rampal's character, Major Iqbal, and the showdown we have all been waiting for. On the Pakistani side, Arjun Rampal plays Major Iqbal, the Angel of Death. This character is based on a real ISI officer linked to events like the 26/11 Mumbai attacks. Rampal's Major Iqbal represents the calculated, ideological architect of Pakistan's covert strategies. Rampal's calm, regal menace works beautifully for an antagonist who doesn't need to raise his voice to be terrifying. And just as Part 1 was all about Rehman Dakat, Part 2 will feature Major Iqbal as the main antagonist. At the end of Part 1, Iqbal makes a call where he asks someone on the other end to find out what exactly happened in Rehman's death. It matters to him because Rehman was the most viable link to the Baloch United Force, and without his influence, Iqbal wouldn't be able to get the arms and ammunition he needs for future missions. While all this investigation is happening, there is a theory that Major Iqbal could be Bade Saab. In a recently leaked image, there are scenes between Sanjay Dutt's SP Aslam and Major Iqbal, hinting at various possibilities. One that he is Bade Saab, and the other that he confronts SP Aslam to find out what happened, wherein he learns of Hamza's involvement. I feel the latter is more plausible because the Bade Saab angle has been building up, and surely the creative team of Dhurandhar doesn't want to fizzle out that buzz. As seen in the trailers, there are several scenes in which Hamza and Iqbal fight. This red face of Hamza indicates that he too might have been tortured by Iqbal, just like how Iqbal tortures another spy agent in front of Hamza in Part 1. In Hamza's case, he fights back, and the final fight between the two happens at a shipping dock. Whether Iqbal dies or survives in the battle is yet to be seen, as a reality check will again require creative liberty for Aditya Dhar. Also note that Iqbal is a high-ranking officer in ISI, possessing all the resources to find anything about anyone. If he starts to doubt Hamza, he can use those resources to find about Hamza's backstory, and strategically, this is where Aditya Dhar will cue in the chapter of Hamza's backstory, his transformation from Jaskirat Singh Rangi to Hamza Ali Mazari. Now as viewers, we know the following facts. Jaskirat's parents were killed. To avenge their deaths, Jaskirat goes on a full-on rampage attack on the perpetrators, as evidenced in these shots. This crime makes Jaskirat a death row convict. But somewhere, Ajay Sanyal, Madhavan's character, is convinced that he did all this as an act of retribution, which is why he gives Jaskirat a purpose. Now a few open questions arise. Why were Jaskirat's parents killed? Did Jaskirat have any prior military training? Because the way he assembles the guns and plans for the rampage, it appears to be a professional at work. And Madhavan trusts Jaskirat to be an effective spy. Why? Now frankly, I'll be honest, I'm not very clear on what actually happened. One possibility is the involvement of the Khalistan movement, as the timetable matches the period when the KLF was active in Punjab. Another possibility is communal riots, which Pakistan might have instigated in Punjab. In both cases, Jaskirat would have the motivation to fight against Pakistan. Coming to the military training, we see a shot of Jaskirat wearing the jersey of the Para-SFs. Now here too, there are two possibilities. One, that he was training to be a Para-SF before his parents died. Second, he could have been recruited as part of the Dhurandhar program and undergone training, because Jaskirat definitely isn't the only unknown man. However, the first theory makes more sense, as it would explain Jaskirat's knowledge of guns and their assembly prior to his parents getting killed. When Madhavan tells Jaskirat, it explains why Madhavan believes there is good in Jaskirat. He got caught in the thirst for revenge against the perpetrators who killed his parents, but deep down, he's a soldier, willing to sacrifice his life for the country. To me, that makes sense, but I would love to hear other theories, so let me know in the comments below. Now coming to the final chapter, the Uri-Dhurandhar connection. Within days of Dhurandhar's release, this clip began circulating online.
Captain Jaskirat Singh Rangi.
It's from the movie Uri, where Kirti Kulhari's character says that her late husband's name was Jaskirat Singh Rangi, who died in the line of duty in Naushera ambush. Now while I am making this video, there are reports that Vicky Kaushal is shooting a cameo in Part 2.
बहुत hard.
Again, how much of this is PR versus real news is hard to assess. But let's look at the timeline. As I mentioned earlier, Hamza's involvement in Pakistan would extend to at least the year 2013. And it's hard to imagine that he would go back to India in the midst of all, join the army, get married and then die in the line of duty. From a timeline perspective, it doesn't make any sense. I feel Aditya Dhar reused the name to create a discussion point, something that keeps the audience guessing, and believe me, it is working. The only connection I can see between Uri and Dhurandhar could be the spy link between India and Pakistan. Hamza providing intel on the Uri surgical strike targets, or the cameo could be the events from Part 1 and Part 2 to Dhurandhar Part 3, where both Vicky and Ranveer will play pivotal roles. Whether this comes true or not, the brutal rampage on March 19th is certain.
ये नया हिंदुस्तान है, ये घर में घुसेगा भी और मारेगा भी.
It's going to be bloody, it's going to be loud, but mostly it's going to be a cinematic marvel. Ranveer Singh is about to deliver a performance that will likely define his career for the next decade. I will be there first day first show to see how this epic saga ends or maybe continues. Let me know your crazy theories in the comments below, and if you are interested in watching more, check out our latest video about Rang De Basanti celebrating 20 years right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.